So I was thinking, right? Maybe you guys have been through this. Have you ever dealt with someone that they just can't get their thoughts out?
Yes. You mean ambiguous communication?
I mean, yes, just like they.
Yes. How do you? Yeah. Please tell me, please. Can't stand it. Please.
So stay tuned.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Mac Show. I'm Anita Kay.
Hi, I'm MelodicMic.
And today we're going to be talking about a very important topic. How do you deal with ambiguous communication?
Oh, it's so cringeworthy. I can't stand it. Oh.
MelodicMic, we see this all the time, professionally in our lives, in our personal lives, with acquaintances, with loved ones, the whole gamut.
Get ready to comment below because I definitely want you to chime in on this. But yeah, what are certain things like, I know it's a pet peeve of mine, a huge pet peeve of mine when someone can't get their thoughts across. And yes, being patient is a good thing for me to work on. You're very patient, I already know. But just when someone is thinking or they just can't verbalize what they're thinking, it sometimes frustrates me. And I
understand that.
Need a couple things. And maybe you might need a couple things on how to deal with it.
I think we all do.
Oh,
I think we all do. But really, what is ambiguous communication? For me, I think it's an exchange with an audience or an individual and limited exchange of communication information. Just limited. So I think there's a few ways to tackle it because a lot of people just are dead in the tracks once they don't get that information or they're having a conversation and there's a halt, there's a pause, there's silence, there's confusion.
There's this awkward silence, just like cringing. Oh. And
it's really important to develop that. It really is, because what it really leads to, I think, is confusion. You can't be influential, and it's not engaging. It's definitely not engaging. And I'd like to talk in an engagement fashion.
Right.
I think it's really imperative.
I think it's huge for people to learn, well, again, going back to a couple videos, self-awareness, knowing who you are. If you're not sure, you can't speak confidently.
Yes.
You don't have conviction. And if you're looking towards, other people, really take a look and notice how people just really put themselves out there and learn. It takes time. It takes a lot of patience within yourself to really groom yourself to the point where you can communicate freely and openly.
Do you think it's a good idea to model folks that you really think highly of as far as their communication and listening styles?
If it matches you. I think with personalities, there's people who are very exuberant, very out there, oh my gosh, and then there's people who are really quiet, reserved, I'm okay. But either way, the way you speak to others, how you use your gestures, it's your own way of doing so. But you have to be aware of what you're good at, what your strengths are, and stick with that.
And I think one or two ways that I like to tackle this, because I've been in these situations several times, as we all have, is one, I like to restate what the opposing person is saying. And I want to restate, and I want to listen, and I want to clarify.
Right.
Sometimes by doing that, by asking the question back, you might get some other details that are imperative for you to make a decision, outcome, or to continue your conversation. So at step one, I think it's really important to understand the information at hand. And sometimes the best way is just to repeat, reinstate, and make sure that you have additional details. Because I think additional details will naturally come after that.
Right. Asking questions. This came to my head right now as you were saying that, is that people will always give you answers.
Right.
But if you don't know, ask questions. Don't assume, don't think that they might be thinking of something. They might not, So be free to ask questions if you don't understand.
I ask him a lot of questions. He knows it.
I don't have the answers, though.
But you're not ambiguous all the time.
That's true.
I can be. I think one of the words that I really love, and I use it with ambiguous communication, is the word how. The word how. So when someone is asked, when I get the ambiguous communication from the other opposing side, and I really need more information to even respond, after I reinstate the point, I like to start with, how do we, or or how is or how can I. And
Okay.
sometimes by probing down, I get the opposing person in an engaging conversation all of a sudden, and they don't even realize it.
Okay.
So now we're starting a dialogue and we're uncovering additional details, and we're constantly probing and building on what we want to share or the answer that we want to get to or the goal, underneath it all.
Right, right.
That's really important in the workplace, I've realized. So I love the word how, and I use that as a power word with ambiguous communication, followed by the questions.
The questions.
Which I think is really important with what you said. How?
Nice.
And you also had an excellent point, which I wanted to touch upon.
Whoa, I actually had a point. Look at this.
Is how I believe mimicking the style of the other individual. Because yes, I agree, to be completely engaging, we love to engage and are a lot more comfortable and secure when we're talking to an audience that's similar like us.
Yes.
Their listening style, their tone, or I should say their tonality, their pitch, and even their behavior, nonverbal and verbal. So I think it's really important to tailor communication according to your audience or the individual that you're having a conversation with. As casual it can be or as professional it can be. What do you think about that?
Worst case scenario, you just gotta roll with it.
Sometimes you've got to roll with it. Sometimes you really do.
But let's
he likes to roll a lot.
Well, yeah. If you haven't caught that yet, yes. Sometimes you just gotta go with the flow. Some people might not be able to verbalize what they're thinking. Some people might just be at a crossroads and they're just thinking, right? But you gotta be able to flow with it. I feel as though a lot of us we talked about this, different communication styles. Mm-hmm. Some people are very just out there with it. Some people like to listen. Some people like to question things. But at the end of the day, I just want to make sure that you understand. Be clear with yourself. Be clear with your intentions, and be clear with what you're thinking about, and just put it out there.
And sometimes it just takes a little practice.
It
just takes a little practice. So with that said, I think we have some good techniques on ambiguous communication.
Absolutely.
and how to navigate through that.
Yeah.
And with that said, let's turn this around. Let's maybe at the end of the day call this, keep in mind, mindful communication. Not ambiguous communication, but mindful communication.
So communicate with us down below. Comment.
We'd love to hear from you.
We'd love to hear from you. Somewhere right here, I think. Subscribe.
Subscribe.
And see what we're doing. But we really want to hear what you guys think. Ambiguous communication. Do you struggle with that?
Please let us know.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear it. And if you have any techniques to share with the rest of the folks that are watching and viewing and following, please add a value there and help us out.
Sounds good.
Until the next time, I'm Anita Kay.
I'm MelodicMic.
Thanks for watching The Mac Show.